This is National Native News. I'm Antonia Gonzalez. Ontario Provincial Police vehicles and officers moved in on a Mohawk blockade adjacent to a railway in Ontario Monday morning after supporters of the Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs remained in place despite a midnight deadline to clear the area to avoid arrests. Some demonstrators were seen being taken into custody. Dan Karpinchuk has more.
The midnight deadline came and went, and the Mohawks of Tyendinaga are showing no signs of dismantling their blockade. The barricades went up more than 2 weeks ago in solidarity with Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs in British Columbia, after police there enforced an injunction against the chiefs and their supporters who were blocking access to a construction site for a natural gas pipeline. Other rail blockades were set up across the country, paralyzing rail traffic. Last week, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau called for patience and dialogue, but by Friday his tone had changed and he said the barricades must come down. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police offered to pull back from the Wet'suwet'en blockade site, but not from their traditional territory. Here's Chief Woos of the Wet'suwet'en.
Well, we're already at that point beyond frustration right now. It's more like confusion. Mr. Trudeau has announced, it's up to us. But we're saying, right from day one, we said, RCMP, vacate the area.
Wet'suwet'en leaders last week traveled to Ontario and Quebec to thank First Nations there for their solidarity and support and to plan future strategy. For National Native News, I'm Dan Karpinchuk.
Tensions came to a head in a long-standing dispute between factions of the Cayuga Nation in upstate New York over the weekend. Local officials are calling on federal authorities to step in. Vaughn Golden reports.
In the early morning hours Saturday, police, directed by Council Leader Clint Halftown, partially demolished 8 buildings, including a convenience store, daycare, sugar shack, and a cannery.
I've been involved in Cayuga Nation affairs since I was a teenager.
Leanna Young is a spokeswoman for the faction that operated the buildings. They've long disputed Halftown's leadership.
So it's been a very long time that I've been able to watch this thing grow and unfortunately come to the head that it's come to and explode in such destructive way.
A public statement from the nation says it was reclaiming the buildings and destroying them to, quote, eliminate public safety issues, end quote. County officials called a special meeting Sunday. They sent official requests to several federal entities, including the U.S. Marshals Service, who they want to temporarily police the Cayuga Nation.
I'm pleased to hear that they have listened to us, that they too also acknowledge that this is a serious threat to not only us Natives community, but also the community as large.
But given the nation's sovereignty, there's not much more local officials can do. Vaughn Golden, National Native News.
The U.S. House Subcommittee for Indigenous Peoples of the United States is holding the hearing with the title, Trump's Border Wall Construction Destroying Sacred Sites and Erasing Tribal Culture. Chairman Ned Norris Jr. of the Tohono O'odham Nation is scheduled to testify at the hearing Wednesday in Washington, D.C. Norris publicly called on the Trump administration to protect sacred sites at the National Congress of American Indians' recent winter session in Washington. In a video taken at the event by Indians.com, Norris told an Interior Department official construction is destroying sacred ground in Arizona and called for it to stop. The tribe is located in Arizona on the U.S.-Mexico border. The Tohono O'odham Nation and other tribes say recent construction of the border wall in Arizona has been on sacred land. Federal officials have been invited to testify at Wednesday's hearing. I'm Antonia Gonzalez.
National Native News is produced by Kawanak Broadcast Corporation with funding by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Like the circle of life, there is an opportunity that comes around every 10 years. A chance to participate and let our voice be heard. It lets others know who we are and where we are. The 2020 census will be our opportunity to shape our future for generations to come. Shape our future. Start here. Learn more at 2020census.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Census Bureau.
Native Voice One, the Native American Radio Network.